Hi guys, thank you for purchasing this sheet. Now I'll show you how to use it. Let's start with the Instructions tab. On this tab, please check the checkbox. This will highlight the areas in dark yellow where you can enter your information. After that, you can set your preferred currency. There are two rules you need to remember. Do not enter any information in areas that are not highlighted in yellow. Do not enter anything in cells that contain a currency sign. Once that's done, we'll move on to the Net Worth tab. First, make a copy of the spreadsheet. This way, you won't need to delete information manually at the end of the year. When a new year starts, you can simply open the copy and start fresh. You can also hide the original or copied sheet to keep things organized. In the top left corner, select the starting date. The sheet will automatically update to reflect the sequence of months starting from your chosen date. Keep in mind, if you change the starting month after you've already entered data, the numbers will not move with the month. They'll stay in the cell where you originally entered them. Next, under Starting Date section, enter your net worth goal for the selected year. Please do not enter information in Net Worth-Tracker. Next, let's move down to the Assets section. In this section, you can customize the main subcategory names and add subcategories under each category. For example, you might want to keep the cash and bank accounts and investments categories, but instead of the properties category, you could change it to business properties. Similarly, you might want to rename the other assets category to personal properties. Once you've updated the main categories, don't forget to add the relevant subcategories for each one. Once you've updated the main categories, don't forget to add the relevant subcategories for each one. After you've added all the subcategories to your main categories, enter the starting amount for each asset subcategory. If you don't have a starting amount, you can simply leave the cell empty or enter 0. Now, start adding information to each subcategory. For example, in September, I have the following: cash, $2,300. Bank account 1, $1,800. Bank account 2, $1,200. Bank account $3,100. Just enter the corresponding amount under each subcategory. Once you've entered the starting balance and the data for the first month, September in our case, you'll be able to see the totals at the top of the sheet. The total for your starting amount will be displayed, as well as the total for the first month. If you look to the far right, you'll see the total growth for all categories. Similarly, if you scroll down, you can see the growth for each category and subcategory. For each main category, such as in our case cash and bank accounts, investments, properties, personal properties, you can see the calculations separately. For example, let's take a look at the cash and bank accounts total. For the start, the total is $1,500, and for September, the total is $8,400. So our growth is $6,870, which represents an increase of 449.02%. You can also see the growth for each individual subcategory. For example, cash, the starting amount is $1,000, and for September, it's $2,300. If you look to the right, you'll see that the growth was $1,300, which is a 130% increase. This helps you track exactly where the changes are happening. Next, let's look at the investments category. You'll notice that the starting amount for investments was higher than the value for September. In this case, we've experienced a negative growth of $490, which represents a decrease of -3.98%. This gives you a clear picture of how your investments are performing under the current conditions. At the top of the sheet, you'll also see the total assets automatically calculated. For example, if the total starting amount was $135,930 and the first month shows $143,535, the growth for that period would be $7,605, which represents a 5.59% increase. This total is updated automatically every time you enter new data. So to recap, The sheet will show you the growth both by category and subcategory, and you can clearly see both positive and negative changes over time. It gives you a detailed overview of how your assets are growing or declining, making it easier for you to track your financial progress. Don't forget to review the summary at the top regularly to see how all your categories and subcategories are performing. If you ever need to make adjustments, you can simply update the numbers, and the formulas will recalculate the totals and growth percentages for you. Now, let's move down to the liabilities section. Just like with the assets section, you can customize the names of the main categories here as well. After that, you can add your subcategories, set the starting balance, and begin entering your data. Remember, do not change any colors on any of the sheets. Only enter information in the cells that are highlighted with the darker yellow color. Now let's go through each main category separately. For example, let's take a look at the short-term debts total. At the start, the total was $4,540, and for September, it's $4,350. That means our debt decreased by $190, which is a 4.19% improvement. Since this is a debt category, a decrease actually means our net worth is increasing. You can also see the growth or change for each individual subcategory. For example, Credit Card 1 had a starting balance of $1,750, and in September, it's $1,850. If you look to the right, you'll see the growth is negative $100, which is a negative 5.71% decrease. This happened because we spent from Credit Card 1, which increased the balance. Tracking it this way helps you see exactly where changes are happening, whether it's progress or setbacks. Now let's move on to the Net Worth Dashboard Tracker. You can see that our starting assets were $135,930, and our liabilities were $139,540. which means our starting net worth was negative $3,610. Let's check September. Our assets were $143,535, and our liabilities were $132,950, which makes our net worth $10,585. Now, let's look to the right. We had an increase of $14,195, which represents a 393.21% increase in net worth. At the very top left corner, under Net Worth Overview, you can see your net worth goal. Also, you can see how much is left to reach your goal. The current net worth will show the last calculated net worth. Even if it's October, it will still display September's net worth, since that's the most recent calculation. You'll also see the total of your assets, liabilities, and total growth here. At the top, you can also see Net Worth Evolution, which tracks the changes over time. Assets versus liabilities. On the far right, there's a drop-down menu where you can choose to view either the asset breakdown or the liabilities breakdown. Will be displayed. Thanks so much for purchasing the sheet and watching this video. Enjoy using it and happy tracking!